Good day, Bob here at Weldnrust, and finally putting the Dodge back together again, at least starting on it. The plan is to get that panel we were working on the back, but I'm gonna have to show you a few little problems we've run into. We'll see how this is gonna work out. Okay, let's have a look at some of the issues. What I got here is I got it wire brushed, and we got to still fit a fairly pitted rust. What I haven't decided yet is if I'm going to cut it here and try and somehow treat this so it doesn't come back to haunt me later, or cut it a little bit lower and do my welding right in the seam there. Don't know yet. The bigger problem I got is, you see all this nice shiny stuff? Ew, I shouldn't touch that. That's lead. I'm going to have to figure out how to get rid of that without breathing any of this nasty stuff in. Should show you what we got underneath, what we got to deal with. Apparently, there was a bit of a repair. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'll wave it around, maybe you can see it. But there's a bit of a, right about, there it is. Right about there, you got a nice little weld joint. Somebody's been patching it together. Some more dings that they were filling with lead, because you can't get enough weight in these old cars. You can see the weld seam along here. It's like you get one of these old things, you have no idea what you're getting into. Anyways, I think before I get too involved, I'm going to have to get rid of this nasty stuff, and I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that yet. I'd hate to think I'd have to cut the whole panel out and replace it. Oh well, I'm going to have to figure that one out in a bit. Well, looking at this a little closer, I think the decision is going to be made for me. What I've discovered, you can see it in here. This stuff in here, that is the continuation of the lead. So you're looking at this entire section filled with this, nastiness. We've got a nice little ding in here. And I think it'd be a little bit more prudent just to make up a whole new panel. It's a bit more work, but I think it's going to save me work later on down the line. Gotta love old cars. Nothing ever wants to line up. What I've done so far is, you can see I've mounted this from the edge of the part to the door jamb 10 inches. Did the same for the other side. You can see how I got that ruler in there to get the shape where I wanted. That kind of determined where that thing was going to go. Here's our problem. Nothing symmetrical. Over here, where that corner sits, what do we got? About 2.5 inches. Over on this side, what do we got? Oh, about 1 inch. So that leaves us with this thing. You can see back here, not too straight. So I got a dilemma. I could try and force the fenders to line up better. They got some movement, not a whole lot. But it just goes to show old cars how there's nothing straight or square on these things. So I think what I'm going to have to do is my cheat, which I don't like. Well, I'll set it up and see what it looks like. Is I'm going to have to more or less make this crooked. Put this forward about 5/8 of an inch, give or take. And hopefully that will shift everything over and hopefully line up better. The front and back are getting, the front and the back are getting cut anyway, so I'm not going to get too concerned about that. But I got to get these symmetrical, otherwise it'll look like crap. You can see the little mark I put on here. That's where the old one was. We've got a good inch that I moved it forward. But now, you can see this. The back end looks somewhat symmetrical. I think we're going to live with that for now. I have no intentions of welding it solid yet. I'm going to basically use a bunch of screws to hold it together. That's my normal way of doing things. I don't spend the money on Clecos. Maybe I could, but I really like sheet metal screws. So I'll stick a bunch of screws in here to hold it steady. But before I do that, I gotta trim this line so it fits this body line, and then figure out my cut lines so things line up. I might leave some more material in this section as overlap, because I'm not really sure how I'm going to match this shape with this, or what I'm going to change. I'm pretty sure my trunk lid is going to follow that line, and I'll probably have a cut line around here for the edge of the trunk. So I'm probably going to get rid of this and make an English wheel the new trunk lid. Okay, I'm going to see if I can give you a better closer view of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. When I drilled in holes, the plate ended up a little bit higher than I wanted. The lovely thing about these things that I don't know if you can do with Clecos is if you misalign by quite a bit, the fix is pretty simple. A 1/8 drill bit, short style, because what I do is I actually go in here and I use it like a milling cutter, and I just basically go back and forth, put some pressure up, and turn that hole into a slot, which will allow the panel to drop down to where I want it and correct my screw up. I think you can see now how easy it was to put that little bit of slot in there. This car is driving me crazy. You can see I got the screws in here, right with the body line, got it trimmed. Oh, that fits beautifully. Come along here. We've got a little bit of a bubble here, which is to be expected because the lines don't quite line up. I'll probably have to cut back a little bit here and blend it in. This sits over here. I got a little bit of a gap here, about 1/4 of an inch. This fits in. It actually kind of lines up. So you can see the lines actually look pretty good. I'm thinking great. Come over to the other side. Usually I don't do a lot of filming on the second side because why repeat, right? But this thing, okay. You can see how I can stick my hands about this far up in. Okay, that's not good. You can see by my attempts. I put a, I don't know if I can show you underneath to give you a better glimpse. All the little holes. Well, this is an interesting development. Just for giggles, I thought I'd try something. I moved this plate forward what I moved it back by. So now this edge from here to here is the same as on the other side. Okay, and just put the screws back in again. And you can see how far I moved it forward. And here's the interesting thing. The gap in here has closed up quite a bit. The thing to note though is the curves on both sides are quite a bit different, which might not be an issue if I'll have to basically make a pattern and do a reinforcement underneath here to get the curve I want, because where the trunk lid's going to go, the edge is probably going to be around here. I can have some reinforcement inside of here with the shape I want, so it's consistent from one side to the other. I might do another little experiment. I think I'm going to cut this back a little more, the amount that I moved it forward, and see if I can get it to go in a little bit more. And I might even stick a screw or two in here and see if that makes a difference. I stuck another screw in here and it's really close. And you can see kind of how the lines are going on. Okay, I'm liking that shape. This one is a little different, but as you can see, again, we don't have that really nasty gap. We got a little bit here. Oh, I will give you a little heads up on using a bunch of screws. See a bunch of holes. If you run them a few times, they have a nasty habit of stripping out, which means, okay, putting more in. A little more welding for later. A little extra spot welding. The other thing to note is the curve on here is as nice as the other side. And you can see how it's more flatter. But I'm going to show you something. This is flexible. I think I'd like to talk a little bit about the reality of car building what we have to deal with when dealing with this sort of stuff. Most of us, I think, either have or had jobs, family, social life, social commitments. So getting the time to do stuff sometimes doesn't always work out as planned. One of the reasons I missed last week is because, well, on vacation and picked up a bit of a sinus, sinus infection. Hence, I don't know if you noticed this on the videos lately. I've been wearing a mask. That's to keep the dust out because that probably doesn't help matters. Just a little bit of a safety thing. One of the things I've been struggling with lately, it's of the story about eating the elephant. How do you do it? One bite at a time. Well, every once in a while, you get a bite of elephant that's a bit of grizzle. And that's kind of what we happened here when things just don't work out as planned. They don't line up. As you can see, I got the lid on. Okay. And one of the things I got to look at from a win point of view is that I got something done, that I actually kept at it, even if it's just a little bit of time, but just to keep at it, especially when working on a car, because it's too easy to get sidetracked and leave a project for a while. And I find that that's easy enough to get tired of the project if you just stop working on it. And sometimes we can get tired of working on the project. This happens. That's why there's quite often unfinished projects available online. I guess sometimes you got to sit back and take a breather for a minute, kind of look at what you're doing. That's kind of where I'm at with this one now. My thing is, I don't want to quit. And I've learned one thing, that persistence does pay off, but taking a break from things doesn't hurt either. But I've learned, don't take too long of a break. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate the support of the channel, and I hope to see you on the next one. Anyways, take care and have a good day.